This tree is Arbutus Marina, and a very popular evergreen tree. And here's what we like about it. It's evergreen and it's colorful. Most of the evergreen trees we have to select from in design are not half as interesting as this. You can see that the bark on this tree has this nice deep coloration. I'll include some photos, but it can have this very strong mahogany red coloration to the bark depending on the age of the limbs. And then the flowers, this is covered with flowers right now, I'll get closer in a minute, are a nice pink color, and then these flowers turn into a very colorful fruit that typically is on the tree during the fall. And the fruit is I'll include photos of that as well, is yellow, orange, and red, and it's edible. A lot of people don't know it's edible, but it is, and it's not bad if you don't let it get too ripe. If it gets really ripe, it's kind of mealy, but they're kind of tasty when they're at the right stage. So that's a mixed blessing. The profuse flowering and the profuse production of fruit also turns into a mess on the ground. So, but that said, birds tend to eat some of the fruit, and I just spoke with a neighbor who has this around the pool area, and I said, hey, what about the mess? And he said he really just doesn't get a mess. His plants are about 3 years old, and they don't really create a problem for him. So I guess the jury's out on that. I think you do have to concern yourself with some mess along with your plants, and I don't recommend putting these over paved areas for that reason. But if you've got a planting area where a little droppage isn't going to be a big deal, I think these are a great plant for that situation. Size-wise, you're looking at a tree that is about 10 years old. I saw when they first planted these, and it is about 16 to 18 feet wide and about the same height. It's 18 to 20 feet tall. The trunk on that is probably 10 inches in diameter right now in 10 years. So size-wise, I haven't seen these get a lot bigger than this. I've seen some a little bigger. So I'd say 20 to 25 feet high is the size you would expect to see out of this tree, and certainly be able to keep it at that size if you were afraid of it getting too big for your space. And width-wise, you can see that it's about the same width. So drought tolerant. This is a hybrid, as I understand it, of California native, and these are drought tolerant once they're established, so you can use them in that way. This one's growing in a lawn, and I would tell you that it got to this size because it's sitting in a lawn getting pumped full of nitrogen all year long. So and it seems to like it just fine. So I think they're very tolerant of garden type conditions, but they'll also handle a drier, more drought type of a situation. And I think those are the key points to cover on this plant, and then just to follow, you'll see some of the details with some nice photos of other examples for this plant. Here's a close-up of the blooms. They have these beautiful little bell-shaped blooms, which is interesting to me because they're the same shaped flower as Arctostaphylos. They're like a little Chinese lantern. And again, interesting foliage, nice deep green. And look at this bark. Now the bark can be a little bit of a mess. This is doing a shed. You see how smooth this is underneath, and this bark kind of pops off, but that will replace itself and you'll get another layer later. So very interesting in terms of the bark, the flowers, the fruit. A lot of interest for this plant.